In 2006, I sent an email that would change the internet as we know it. And I want to tell you that story. Hi, everybody. My name is Craig. You may know me as Stuttering Craig from back in the day in the old screw attack era. Glad you guys are here. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. It's very important that you do because I tell stories like this all the time, and I would love for you to hear them. If you like the old classic stories about the old internet and just my history and my career, it'd be a great place for you to subscribe because this is where I tell them. Awesome. Also, do me a favor. Give this video a please. What? Just a big thumbs up. All right. Awesome. Sounds good. YouTube is great. Okay. So how did I get to know James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd? Well, so here's the thing, right? This kind of goes back to the last video where Screw Attack had grown to a point to where we needed something that would make us a little bit different than most websites. And at the time, this is 2006, Screw Attack was a website that our tagline was something original every day. And the reason why we did that was because nobody else was doing that. Like there were major news sites, major video game outlets that didn't update every day. The internet has changed, friends. It has changed dramatically. It wasn't this constant feed of Twitter and Facebook and TikToks and YouTube, or you're constantly getting updated with content after content after content. It's a lot different back then. So we wanted to do something every day, and that helped us stand out. It was really, really fun, exciting times. But I knew that we couldn't do that. I mean, it would be next to impossible. I mean, producing something every day was, especially with no business. I mean, the idea of making money online was laughable, like literally just hilarious. The idea that you can make money while producing videos online or podcast or anything like this. There was no sponsorships. There was nothing like that. You did it primarily because you enjoyed it and you thought you may be able, maybe sometime in the future, possibly, maybe make some money on your website through advertising. You're right. Anyways, so I knew we needed to fill out some days for the week. So I started reaching out to people. And actually, the first email, the first message, the first person I searched was actually, was when I found James Rolfe, the angry Nintendo nerd at the time. I remember going to YouTube and searching these 3 words, funny video games. And I remember scrolling down on the search results, and there were some, funny things that had happened in video games. Because you got to remember, once again, capturing these things. This was a time where everything was recorded on tape. It wasn't DV. You didn't have a webcam to record things. This was a lot harder to do than it was today. You had to put a lot of effort in. If you wanted to make content or make any videos, it was very hard to do. And capturing gameplay was incredibly hard. It wasn't. It's been many years, but it's been many generations of technology that has happened here. It's been crazy. Anyways. So I searched funny video games and I scrolled down and I found this video that had just about 2,000 views on it at the time of this angry Nintendo nerd. So I watch it and I thought it was hilarious, just like you did the first time you saw angry Nintendo nerd or angry video game nerd. You thought, man, this is hilarious stuff. And I was like, man, this would be great to have on Screw Attack. Number one, the production value is awesome. Number two, I love what he's talking about. It's like this classic stuff. I would love to have this angry Nintendo nerd on Screw Attack. So I remember I wanted to get some feedback on the character or the show first. And I showed it to a buddy named Andy. And Andy was a friend I had for a long time, all through elementary school. And I showed it to him and I remember him being like, yeah, that's not funny. That's not funny. He just cusses a lot. And there's nothing to it. I was like, are you kidding me? That's hilarious. Like, so I pretty much I took what Andy said and I just slapped it to half court because I had nothing to do with it. I was like, I know funny and this is funny. So I remember emailing the email associated with it. I guess it was James's email. And I remember being like, hey, so I got this website. I love what you're doing. This is what we do. Do you have any interest in possibly being on our website? It would be great for exposure for both of us and we could both, grow together. And it was very easy. He emailed back. He's like, yeah, sure. Like, that sounds like fun. And that's pretty much how our relationship started. Just a simple cold email where it was like, hey, this is what I do. This is what you do. There's not many people doing this right now. Do you want to work together? And that's where the collaboration started, which was pretty amazing. The best thing about it was there was no contracts. Like, I just knew we had a day to fill. And I was like, well, so can you do like, I don't know, Thursdays or whatever day it was that we needed filled? And he's like, yeah, sure. That sounds good. That sounds great. And so that is how our relationship started with the angry Nintendo nerd at the time. We didn't have any contracts. It was just based off a simple YouTube search. And at the time, we were doing this series called the Video Game Vault on Screw Attack. And the Video Game Vault was, I always refer to them as oh yeahs. You'd watch them and be like, oh yeah, I remember that game. And that was the whole premise of the Video Game Vault. They're like these short 2-minute long videos about the game. They were edited, really kind of fun, fast-paced, and very 2006 to 2010 internet, right? They were perfect. These bite-sized, they'd be perfect for like Twitter today, right? And we had this relationship where James was like, hey, so you do these video game vaults. Can I do one of those? And he actually did a video game vault, which was, I think it was featured on as a bonus on a DVD, on one of the DVDs we helped James sell way back in the day. It was a bonus, and he did a vault on DuckTales, which was really fun. I think you could find it somewhere on the internet. I'm sure it's somewhere on YouTube, but it was really great, and it's perfect. Now, we didn't have the video game vault intros or anything like that. It was just fun, James talking about a game that he liked. And I like to think in a small way that video game vault maybe kind of allowed to show people that the nerd wasn't necessarily this bad, evil character, that he had this heart of gold, because in the video game vault, he's like, oh, so you think this game sucks? No, it's actually really good, and he actually talks about how he enjoys the game, whereas previously, every time you'd seen the nerd, it'd been like, oh, F, and yelling and cursing and stuff like that.
I wish I could call it a shitload of fuck, but it's actually a pretty damn good game.
I want to tell you more about our relationship and kind of how he went from the angry Nintendo nerd to the angry video game nerd. But before I do that, I want to tell you about my new project that I'm working on called Collaborator Club. If you guys haven't seen this, I wish I had this when we started. It would have been way easier for James and I to connect. Essentially, it allows, if you're a creator of any kind, one of the things that I've heard over and over again, you've seen all these creators that were inspired by Screw Attack, inspired by the nerd, to make their own videos. And it's very hard to grow, you know that. So I've created a platform that allows content creators of any size, whether you have 0 subscribers or 1 million subscribers, whether you stream on Twitch for 1 day a week or you stream every single day, allows you to connect with other creators so you can then cross-promote and share your audiences and ultimately grow together. It's called Collaborator Club. Hopefully you guys go over there and check it out. That's my new project. And I can only imagine reaching out to James on Collaborator Club in 2006, how much easier it would have been to grow together. All right, one last thing before we get back to the story. I recorded it and I wanted to make sure this was in there. I'm actually offering equity in the company, meaning you can actually invest in Collaborator Club right now. If you go to WeFunder.com/Collaborator Club, there's also a link in the description and in the pinned comment. But yeah, I'm actually offering part of my company, which is pretty awesome. So go check it out, explore, do some research, and see if it's the right fit for you. I really appreciate it. Thanks. So about the name change. When he came over to Screw Attack, he was the angry Nintendo nerd. And I remember putting together these promos that would run on Side Scrollers, which was like our main show, was Side Scrollers, which was our audio podcast that we did. And I remember in between segments, we'd have commercial breaks, which was something that you didn't really see at the time. It was structured like a radio show. And one of the promos that we would run leading up to the month of before the Angry Nintendo Nerd started appearing on the site, or 2 weeks or whatever it was the Angry Nintendo Nerd is coming to Screw Attack. And it had, James, I took some snippets from some of the videos, and it was really good. And it kind of promoted. And I remember having a phone interview of the Angry Nintendo Nerd in character as he let in. And it was really fun to do. And the phone interview was literally just holding up a phone next to a microphone as we talked to him, which is, you do what you need to do. It was great. We had no Discord or anything like that to screen cap any of that stuff. We were just holding up a phone as I call him, hey, you want to do this? Sounds good. And then I edit it down. So the Angry Nintendo Nerd came over, and I remember talking to him several months into it and being like, hey, you should probably think about changing your name, something that allows you to play more games. And I was like, what about the Angry Video Game Nerd? And I remember at first he was kind of like, I don't know, I don't think James necessarily saw. And once again, I remember this a certain way. I'm sure James remembers it a certain way. I remember James being like kind of not really receptive to it, because he's like, I like doing the NES stuff. And I was like, yeah, but it'll allow you to do a little bit more. And I think eventually he warmed up to it a little bit, and obviously now he's the Angry Nintendo Nerd, and that's how most people know him, as the angry video game nerd, as opposed to Angry Nintendo Nerd. But it's neat to hear kind of the roots. The Angry Video Game Nerd logo was actually created by a mutual friend. His name was Wes, and if you're an old school Screw Attack fan, it was Misanthropic Wes. He actually made the Angry Video Game Nerd logo or actually the Angry Nintendo Nerd logo first, when we had our version 2 of our website, which was like a manual blogged website that we had to make, which was the old school blue site, if you remember that from way back in the day. Probably not. But he did the Angry Nintendo Nerd logo, and then when he changed to Angry Video Game Nerd, we changed that as well. So the logo that you see now is the same logo that Wes made forever ago, which is crazy, crazy, crazy to think about. Obviously, we went on to do Angry Video Game Nerd shirts and Angry Video Game Nerd DVDs, and really kind of started laying down a business model for what a content creator online, works like. And I remember, obviously we started doing some merchandise stuff, and we had Jose who worked at Screw Attack. He started off as the merchandise guy. Then Chad James came in and actually really helped grow merchandise with James as well. I guess that kind of leads to our relationship with game trailers, because James was only on Screw Attack for just about 6 months before our opportunity with game trailers came up. It was a long time coming, but before we actually started working with game trailers. And I want to tell you about that, but I want to tell you about it another time. So make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and come back. And once again, if you enjoy this story, please hit the thumbs up button as well. Let people know this is happening on my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you're a fan of the classic internet and classic stories, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Remember, I'm playing through the entire NES library throughout the week, so you always have something to watch. I greatly appreciate you guys popping in, and make sure you guys go over to Collaborator Club and become a member. It's totally free to become a member. Head on over there and check it out if you got a Twitch or YouTube login, which you do because you're watching this video. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.